see, let me see. If you don't want this one, I will throw you with it. So let me see.
How did I come so close to getting what I wanted, and then I just...
You know that feeling when your heart drops and your stomach twists at the same time? That's exactly what hit Trisha the moment she glanced at Rick's phone and saw those messages. Yes, those messages. The kind that don't just cross a line, they leap over it and set the whole relationship on fire. 1 second, she's floating on hope, thinking maybe this time Rick's promises mean something, and the next, she's staring at proof that he's been talking to his ex behind her back. Again, like Vu, but with more heartbreak and less surprise. The air in the room goes cold, her hands start to shake, and Rick's face turns the color of someone who knows he's been caught. Not for the first time, but for the second, or is it the third? It's hard to keep count when betrayal starts to feel like a routine. Flashback to the last time this happened, when Trisha found those late-night texts from Rick's so-called old friend, and he swore up and down it was nothing, that she was overthinking, that he'd never do anything to hurt her. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that maybe people can change, but here they are again, stuck in the same ugly loop, only now the stakes are even higher. Because this isn't just about two people and a broken promise, this is about Trisha's entire family. Her father and uncle who sat Rick down and made it clear that in their world, marriage means commitment, and commitment means children. No room for half-truths or slippery answers. Trisha's family isn't just watching from the sidelines, they're invested, they're protective, and they're not about to let her future get tangled up with someone who can't keep his word. I'm Oliva, and you're watching Reality Sport, where we don't just spill the tea, we serve it piping hot. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you trusted, hit that subscribe button and drop your wildest relationship red flag in the comments. Because this story is about to get messier than a family dinner with secrets on the menu. Rick's promises are starting to look like empty wrappers, shiny on the outside, nothing inside. He's been dodging questions, making vague commitments, and now, with Trisha's family breathing down his neck, the pressure is on. What else is he hiding? What questions will Trisha finally demand answers to? And most importantly, what did she really see on that phone that made her whole world tilt off its axis? The memory of that family dinner still hangs in the air, thick with tension and the kind of silence that says more than words ever could. Trisha's dad sits at the head of the table, his eyes fixed on Rick, not with anger, but with the steady patience of a man who's seen enough to know when someone's dodging the truth. Her uncle leans in, arms crossed, making it clear this isn't just a casual chat over rice and curry, this is a crossroads, and Rick is standing right in the middle of it. The question lands like a stone. Will you have children with Trisha, yes or no? No more jokes, no more sidestepping, no more let's see what the future holds. This is the moment Rick has been trying to avoid since he first set foot in their home, and now there's nowhere left to run. Rick's eyes dart from Trisha to her father, then back to his plate, searching for an escape route that doesn't exist. He tries to buy time, mumbling about how he and Trisha haven't known each other long enough to make such a big decision, but the words sound hollow, even to him. The family isn't having it. In their world, marriage isn't just about love or attraction, it's about building a future, carrying on traditions, and giving back to the community that raised you. Children aren't optional, they're the foundation. Trisha's dad doesn't blink, doesn't soften, just waits for a real answer. And the pressure in the room climbs with every second Rick hesitates. Trisha sits quietly, her hands folded in her lap, hope and doubt warring behind her eyes. She wants to believe Rick will step up, that he'll finally show her and her family the respect they deserve. But there's a flicker of fear too, because she's seen this dance before, the way Rick can twist a conversation, the way he can make promises sound sincere even when he's not sure he means them. Inside Rick's mind is racing. He knows what's at stake. If he says no, it's over. If he says yes, he's locked in, and every part of him is screaming for a way out. But the walls are closing in, and for once, his usual charm isn't enough to save him. Finally, Rick looks up, forces a smile, and says the words everyone's been waiting for. Yes, I'll have children with Trisha. But there's a catch, and he slips it in so smoothly you almost miss it. He'll do it, but only if things between them stay as good as they've been lately. It sounds reasonable on the surface, but underneath, it's a loophole big enough to drive a truck through. He's not promising a future. He's promising a maybe, a someday, a we'll see. Trisha's family breathes a sigh of relief, but Trisha herself isn't so sure. She's seen how quickly things can change, how easily Rick can shift the blame when things get tough. What no one at that table knows is that Rick is hiding something, a secret that could blow everything apart if it ever comes to light. He's playing a dangerous game, and the stakes have never been higher. Did Rick mean what he said, or is he just buying time, hoping he can keep everyone happy until he figures out his next move? The answer is coming, and when it does, nobody at that table will be ready for it. Rick's answer hangs in the air, but it's the fine print that matters most. He's agreed to have children with Trisha, but only if things between them stay good. It sounds harmless, almost sweet, but listen closely and you'll hear the gears turning. This isn't a promise, it's a contract with invisible ink, a shifting set of rules that Rick controls. He's not just agreeing to Trisha's family's terms, he's rewriting them in real time, making sure he always has an exit if things get uncomfortable. The good behavior clause is his safety net, a way to keep Trisha on her toes and himself off the hook. If she ever questions him, if she ever pushes back, he can point to this moment and say, "See? You broke the deal." It's a power play, pure and simple, and it's not the first time Rick has pulled something like this. Trisha, for a moment, lets herself believe. Her face lights up, her shoulders relax, and for the first time in days, she looks at Rick like he's the man she fell for, not the man who keeps slipping through her fingers. She wants this so badly, to believe that love can win, that promises can be kept, that her family's approval means something real. But if you've been watching Rick as long as we have, you know this isn't his first rodeo. The audience remembers the last time he made a big promise, the last time he swore he'd change, only to find a new excuse when things got tough. There's a reason trust is so hard to rebuild, and it's not because people are unforgiving, it's because patterns don't lie. Now Rick starts laying out his timeline, and suddenly everything gets a little foggier. He says he wants to start the visa process first, that it'll take at least 8 months to a year, maybe longer, and only after that will they start planning for a family. It's a classic move, stretch the timeline, add a few bureaucratic hurdles, and hope everyone forgets what was promised in the first place. Trisha's family nods along, relieved to have a plan, but you can see the questions flicker in their eyes. Why wait so long? Why not start building the future now, if that's what everyone wants? Rick's answers are smooth, but they're not satisfying. He talks about wanting to do things the right way, about making sure Trisha is settled before they bring a child into the world, but underneath it all, it feels like another delay, another way to keep his options open. Trisha's dad and uncle give their blessing, but it's not the full-throated approval they gave at the start of dinner. There's a new tension in the room, a sense that everyone is waiting for the other shoe to drop. Trisha tries to ignore it, tries to focus on the good, but even she can't shake the feeling that something isn't adding up. Her family wants to trust Rick, wants to believe he's finally stepping up, but old habits die hard, and the memory of past disappointments lingers just beneath the surface. What nobody knows, not Trisha, not her family, not even the people closest to Rick, is that there's a storm brewing behind his calm facade. He's been making promises he might not be able to keep, and there's a reason he's so eager to push everything down the road. Rick's finances are a mess, and the truth is, he's not sure he can afford another child. Not now, maybe not ever. He's banking on things getting better, on some miracle turning his situation around, but hope isn't a plan, and sooner or later, the truth is going to catch up with him. What is Rick hiding about his ability to support another child, and how long can he keep up the act before everything falls apart? The answer is closer than anyone thinks. And when it comes out, it's going to change everything. Airports are supposed to be places of new beginnings. But for Trisha, this one feels like the end of something she's been desperately trying to hold together. The hum of travelers, the distant calls for boarding, none of it registers as she sits beside Rick, her mind racing with doubts she can't shake. She's tried to trust him, tried to believe that this time would be different, but something about the way he's clutching his phone, the way he keeps glancing at the screen and tensing up every time a notification pops up, sets off every alarm bell in her head. She's seen this before, the nervous energy, the half smiles, the sudden need for privacy. It's the same script, different setting, and Trisha's done pretending she doesn't notice. Without warning, she turns to Rick and asks to see his phone. Her voice is steady, but her heart is pounding so loud she's sure he can hear it. Rick hesitates, tries to laugh it off, but Trisha doesn't budge. The tension between them is electric, drawing the attention of a few nearby travelers, but neither of them cares. Rick finally hands over the phone, his fingers lingering a second too long, as if he's hoping she'll change her mind. She doesn't. She scrolls through his messages, her breath catching when she sees a familiar name, the ex, the one who's been a shadow over their relationship since the beginning, the one Rick swore he was done with. The messages aren't just friendly check-ins or harmless updates. They're long, late-night conversations, full of nostalgia and what-ifs, sprinkled with memories that should have been left in the past. Rick tells his ex about the good times, about how he misses the way things used to be, about how hard it is to move on. There's nothing explicitly romantic, but the intent is clear. He's keeping the door open, keeping his options alive, and Trisha is left holding the proof in her shaking hands. The betrayal isn't just in the words, it's in the secrecy, the lies, the way Rick made her feel crazy for suspecting anything at all. Rick jumps into damage control, insisting it was innocent, that his ex reached out first, that he was only being polite. He says he didn't want to hurt Trisha, that he never meant for her to find out. But every excuse sounds weaker than the last. The hypocrisy is staggering. This is the same man who lost his mind when Trisha so much as mentioned an old boyfriend, who set rules about loyalty and trust that he never intended to follow himself. Trisha's heartbreak is raw and immediate, a mix of anger, sadness, and the crushing realization that she's been here before, that she let herself believe in someone who never deserved it. For anyone who's ever been on the receiving end of emotional cheating, the pain is sharp and personal. It's not just about the messages, it's about the intimacy, the secrets, the feeling that you're not enough. Emotional betrayal cuts deeper than physical cheating because it's about connection, about sharing parts of yourself that should be reserved for the person you love. Trisha's tears aren't just for what Rick did, but for all the times she doubted herself, for every moment she spent defending him to her family, for every hope she let herself hold on to. But here's where things get interesting, because Trisha isn't the same woman she was the last time Rick broke her trust. She's stronger now, sharper, and the look in her eyes says she's not about to let this slide. The next move she makes will shock everyone, including Rick, who's suddenly realizing he might have pushed her too far this time. Will Trisha finally walk away for good, or is there another twist waiting in the wings? The answer is coming, and nobody, not even Rick, will see it coming. Trisha doesn't wait for the car ride home or a quiet moment behind closed doors. She confronts Rick right there in the airport lounge, her voice trembling but clear, holding up his phone like a piece of evidence in a trial that's been a long time coming. She reads out the messages, her words sharp and steady, each one landing like a slap. Rick's face cycles through a dozen emotions, shock, embarrassment, anger, but he recovers quickly, slipping into the role he knows best, the misunderstood victim. He tries to twist the story, insisting that Trisha is overreacting, that she's reading too much into a few harmless texts, that everyone has a past and sometimes old friends reach out. He says he only replied out of politeness, that he didn't want to be rude, that it meant nothing. But Trisha's not buying it, and neither is anyone watching. She's angry, and it's the kind of anger that comes from being lied to over and over, from having your reality questioned until you start to doubt your own instincts. But underneath the anger is a deep sadness, a sense of loss for the future she thought she was building, for the man she thought Rick could be. There's disbelief too, because even after everything, some part of her wanted to believe he'd finally changed, that this time would be different. The roller coaster of emotions is written all over her face, and for a moment, she looks like she might break. But then she straightens her shoulders, wipes her eyes, and asks the question that's been burning in her mind. Why? Why risk everything for a few secret messages? Why make promises you never intended to keep? Rick's answer is as predictable as it is infuriating. He says he's been under so much pressure that Trisha's family put him on the spot, that he felt trapped and didn't know what else to do. He paints himself as the victim, the poor guy who just wanted to make everyone happy but got caught in a situation he couldn't control. He says he never wanted to hurt Trisha, that he's sorry if she feels betrayed, but he's only human. It's a masterclass in deflection, in shifting the blame without ever taking responsibility. He wants Trisha to feel sorry for him, to see him as someone who needs saving, not someone who needs to change. But the audience knows better. We've seen this play out before, not just with Rick, but with anyone who's ever been caught in a lie and tried to talk their way out of it. There's a reason people stay in relationships like this, even when the red flags are waving in their face. Sometimes it's hope, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's the belief that love can fix what's broken. But every time, it's a gamble, and the house always wins. Trisha deserves better, and deep down, she knows it. But walking away is never as easy as it sounds, especially when your heart is still tangled up in the mess. What Rick doesn't realize is that this confrontation isn't happening in a vacuum. Trisha's family is closer than he thinks, and word travels fast when secrets start to spill. There's a storm brewing just out of sight, a family intervention that could change everything. Will Trisha's family find out the truth about Rick's betrayal, or will he manage to keep them in the dark a little longer? The answer is coming, and when it does, the fallout will be impossible to contain. News travels fast in families where love and loyalty run deep, and it doesn't take long for Trisha's dad and uncle to hear whispers of what happened at the airport. The moment Trisha steps through the door, her father's eyes search her face for answers, and he knows before she even speaks that something is wrong. When the truth comes out about the messages, the lies, the broken promises, the room erupts in a storm of shock and anger. Her uncle's voice is sharp, demanding to know how Rick could disrespect their family after everything they've done to welcome him. Her dad's disappointment is quieter, but it cuts deeper. The kind of silence that says he trusted Rick and now feels betrayed not just for Trisha, but for the whole family. Rick tries to recover, scrambling to explain himself, but every word sounds emptier than the last. He says he made a mistake, that he never meant for things to go this far, that he cares about Trisha and wants to make things right. He tries to play the victim again, insisting that he was overwhelmed by the pressure, that he's only human, that everyone deserves a second chance. But the family isn't buying it. They've seen enough, heard enough, and they're not interested in excuses. Their protectiveness kicks in, and suddenly Rick is no longer the charming outsider. They see him for what he is, someone who put their daughter's happiness at risk for his own selfish reasons. Trisha stands in the middle of it all, torn between the people who raised her and the man she thought she loved. Her heart aches with the weight of their disappointment, but there's still a part of her that wants to believe in second chances, that wants to hold on to the hope that Rick can change. She remembers the good moments, the laughter, the promises whispered late at night, and wonders if it's possible to forgive someone who keeps letting you down. But every time she looks at her father's face, at the pain in his eyes, she's reminded of what's at stake. Not just her own happiness, but the trust and respect of the people who matter most. For anyone watching, it's a painful reminder of the cost of ignoring red flags. Love can make you blind to the truth, can convince you to give someone chance after chance, even when they've shown you who they are. But every time you look the other way, every time you make excuses, you lose a little bit of yourself. Trisha's struggle is universal. The push and pull between loyalty and self-respect, between hope and reality. It's a lesson that hits hard, especially when you see the fallout play out in real time. But this story isn't over yet. There's a final showdown brewing, one that's been building since the first lie was told. Trisha's dad isn't done with Rick, not by a long shot, and the next conversation they have will decide everything. Will Rick finally face real consequences for his actions, or will he find a way to slip through the cracks one more time? The answer is coming, and when it does, nothing will ever be the same for Trisha or her family. The house is quiet, but the tension is thick enough to taste. Trisha's dad waits in the living room, his hands folded, his jaw set in a way that says he's not here for another round of empty apologies. Rick stands across from him, shifting his weight from foot to foot, searching for the right words, but this time, there's nowhere to hide. The air between them is heavy with everything that's gone unsaid. Every disappointment, every broken promise, every moment Trisha's dad watched his daughter's smile fade a little more. This isn't just about a phone full of messages or a single mistake. This is about respect, about trust, about the future of a family that's already given Rick more chances than he deserves. Trisha's dad starts slow, his voice calm but unyielding. He asks Rick to explain himself, to look him in the eye and tell the truth for once. Rick tries to start with another apology, but it falls flat. He pivots, reaching for sympathy, talking about how hard it's been to adjust to a new culture, how overwhelming the expectations have felt, how he never meant to hurt anyone. He says he loves Trisha, that he wants to make things right, that he's willing to do whatever it takes to earn back their trust. But every word feels rehearsed. Every promise sounds like a line from a script he's used before. Trisha's dad doesn't interrupt, doesn't raise his voice, but his silence is louder than any argument. He's heard it all, and he's not interested in being manipulated. Rick senses he's losing ground, so he tries a new angle. He blames the pressure, says he felt cornered by the family's expectations, that he only said what they wanted to hear because he was afraid of losing Trisha. He insists that everyone makes mistakes, that relationships are complicated, that love is messy. He tries to turn the conversation back on Trisha's dad, asking if he's ever made a mistake, if he's ever been forgiven. It's a desperate move, and it only makes things worse. Trisha's dad stands up, his voice steady but cold, and tells Rick that love isn't about saying the right thing when it's convenient. It's about showing up, about being honest, about putting someone else's happiness ahead of your own pride. In the hallway, Trisha listens, her heart pounding in her chest. She spent so long trying to make things work, trying to believe that Rick could change, that their love could survive anything. But now, hearing her father speak, seeing the way Rick twists and turns, she feels something shift inside her. The anger and sadness are still there, but they're joined by a new feeling: clarity. She realizes that every time she's forgiven Rick, every time she's looked past the lies, she's lost a little more of herself. She thinks about the future she wants, about the family she hopes to build, about the kind of love she deserves. For the first time, she sees Rick not as the man she wishes he could be, but as the man he is. The emotional stakes have never been higher. The whole family is watching, waiting to see what Trisha will do. Rick looks at her, his eyes pleading, but she doesn't flinch. She tells him that trust isn't something you can rebuild with words, that love isn't enough when it's built on secrets and half-truths. She thanks him for the good times, for the memories, but says she can't keep sacrificing her happiness for someone who refuses to change. Her voice is steady, but her hands tremble as she lets go of the future she thought she wanted. The audience can feel the tension, the heartbreak, the relief that comes with finally choosing yourself. But just when it seems like the story is over, there's a twist waiting in the wings. Rick isn't done yet. There's something he's been hiding, something that could change the way everyone sees him. Is it another secret, another lie, or a final attempt to win Trisha back? The answer is coming, and it's going to leave everyone questioning whether this is really the end for Rick and Trisha, or if there's still one more chapter left to write. Trisha's words hang in the air long after Rick leaves the room, and for a moment, the house feels both emptier and lighter. She stands there, shoulders squared, breathing in the silence that follows a decision she's been avoiding for far too long. Relief washes over her in waves. Finally, she's free from the cycle of apologies and broken promises. But grief creeps in too, sharp and unexpected, for the love she tried so hard to save and the future she once pictured so clearly. There's regret, but it's not for ending things. It's for not trusting herself sooner, for letting hope cloud her judgment when the truth was always right in front of her. Rick lingers outside, caught between anger and disbelief. He tries to call her, sends a few desperate messages, but Trisha doesn't answer. He paces, replaying every moment, searching for a way to spin the story, to win her back, but the door is closed. For the first time, he's forced to face the consequences of his choices, and the realization hits hard. The family rallies around Trisha, their support unwavering. Her dad hugs her tight, her uncle reassures her that she did the right thing, and her friends remind her that she deserves more than empty promises and half-truths. The lesson is clear: trust is earned, not given, and boundaries are there to protect your heart, not to keep love out. For anyone watching, Trisha's journey is a reminder that self-respect isn't selfish, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from someone who refuses to change. It's not easy, and it never feels good in the moment, but the freedom that comes with choosing yourself is worth every tear. The audience is left with practical insights: don't ignore red flags, don't settle for less than you deserve, and never let someone else's promises drown out your own voice. But just as Trisha starts to rebuild, a new rumor surfaces. Something about Rick's past that no one saw coming. There's another layer to his story, another secret waiting to be uncovered. What else has Rick been hiding? And how will it change everything Trisha thought she knew? The truth is out there, and it's about to come crashing in. Just when Trisha thinks she's finally closed the book on Rick, a new chapter writes itself in the most unexpected way. Word gets around fast in their circle, and soon enough, someone from Rick's past reaches out with a story that makes everything else look like the tip of the iceberg. It turns out Rick wasn't just hiding messages with his ex, he was juggling another relationship entirely, one that overlapped with his time with Trisha. The details are messy, the timeline even messier, and suddenly all those little inconsistencies, the late night calls, the unexplained trips, start to make a twisted kind of sense. Trisha hears it all secondhand, her phone lighting up with screenshots and whispered warnings, and for a moment, she feels the old anger flare up. But this time it's different. This time, she's not surprised. She's just done. Rick, of course, tries to get ahead of the story. He sends out messages to mutual friends, spinning the narrative, insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that the other woman was just a friend, that people are out to ruin his reputation. He posts vague updates online about being misunderstood, about how people love to judge without knowing the full story. But the audience isn't buying it. They've seen this pattern before, the way Rick always manages to be the victim in his own mess, the way he dodges accountability and tries to rewrite history. The more he talks, the clearer it becomes that he's not sorry for what he did, he's sorry he got caught. For Trisha, the new revelation doesn't bring the closure she hoped for, but it does bring clarity. She realizes that the betrayal wasn't just about one mistake or one secret, it was about a pattern of disrespect, a refusal to be honest, a willingness to risk everything for a little attention. She feels a strange sense of peace, knowing she made the right choice even if it hurts. The pain is still there, but it's cleaner now, less tangled up in hope and more rooted in reality. She starts to see herself not as a victim, but as someone who survived, someone who learned, someone who's stronger for having walked away. Betrayal changes people. It makes you question your instincts, your worth, your ability to trust, but it also teaches you what you're willing to accept, what you'll never tolerate again, and how to spot the warning signs before it's too late. Trisha's journey is a lesson in resilience, in the power of choosing yourself even when it feels impossible. She leans on her family, her friends, and slowly starts to rebuild, one honest conversation at a time. The audience is left wondering what's next for Trisha. Will she find happiness after Rick? Will she open her heart again? Or will the scars run too deep? There's talk of a new job, a fresh start in a different city, maybe even a new romance on the horizon. The future is wide open, and for the first time in a long time, Trisha gets to write her own story. But as she steps forward, there's still a sense of unfinished business, a question hanging in the air about what comes next. Will Trisha's next chapter be the one where she finally finds the happiness she deserves, or is there another twist waiting just around the corner? The answer is out there, and it's closer than anyone thinks. Every story leaves a trail of clues, and as Trisha looks back, the signs were always there, hiding in plain sight. The late-night texts, the vague answers, the way Rick always seemed to have an excuse ready before she even finished her question, each moment was a warning, a red flag waving for her attention. Now, with everything out in the open, those memories sting a little less. They're not just reminders of what she lost, but proof of how far she's come. The pain of betrayal is real, but so is the relief that comes with finally seeing things clearly. Trisha's journey wasn't just about heartbreak. It was about learning to trust herself, to listen to her instincts, and to stop making herself small for someone who never deserved her loyalty. Rick, on the other hand, finds himself more alone than ever. The charm that once drew people in now feels hollow, and the friends who used to defend him have started to drift away. His attempts to control the narrative fall flat, and the sympathy he once relied on has dried up. He scrolls through old messages, searching for someone to blame, but the truth is, he's the architect of his own isolation. The world he built on half-truths and empty promises has finally collapsed, and for the first time, he has to sit with the consequences. There's no one left to convince, no one left to fool, and the silence is deafening. Meanwhile, Trisha's family begins to heal. The anger that once filled the house is replaced by quiet support and gentle encouragement. Her dad, who once worried he'd failed to protect his daughter, now sees her strength and resilience. Her uncle, who was quick to judge, learns the value of patience and forgiveness. Family dinners become a place of laughter again, not interrogation. The wounds are still there, but they're healing, and every day brings a little more peace. Trisha's friends rally around her, reminding her that she's not alone, that her story is one of survival, not defeat. For everyone watching, Trisha's story is more than just another reality TV scandal. It's a mirror. How many times have you ignored your gut because you wanted to believe in someone? How often have you made excuses for behavior that didn't sit right, hoping things would change if you just tried a little harder? The truth is, we've all been there, caught between hope and reality, between what we want and what we know. Trisha's journey is a reminder that you don't have to settle for less, that you're allowed to walk away from people who don't respect you, and that healing is possible, even after the deepest cuts. The final emotional beat lands not with a dramatic confrontation, but with quiet hope. Trisha stands at the edge of something new, her heart still bruised, but beating stronger than ever. She's learned that resilience isn't about never falling, it's about getting back up, about refusing to let someone else's choices define your worth. She's not the same woman who once waited for Rick to change. She's wiser now, more careful with her trust, but still open to the possibility of love. The future is uncertain, but it's hers to shape, and that's a freedom she'll never give up again. As the credits roll on this chapter, the audience is left with a question. What would you do in Trisha's shoes? Would you have seen the signs sooner, or would you have held on, hoping for the best? There's no shame in loving deeply, but there's power in knowing when to let go. Trisha's story is a call to action for anyone who's ever doubted themselves, a reminder that you're stronger than you think, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. But if you think this is where the drama ends, think again. The world of 90 Day Fiance is never short on surprises, and there's always another scandal waiting just around the corner. Maybe it's a secret wedding, a shocking betrayal, or a love triangle that no one saw coming. If you thought Rick and Trisha's story was wild, wait until you see what happens next. There's a new couple making headlines, and their secrets are even juicier than anything we've seen so far. So don't go anywhere, hit that subscribe button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and get ready for another round of reality sport, where the truth is always stranger than fiction and the drama never sleeps.